Hello everyone, thank you very much for joining us today. The purpose of today's webcast is, as always, about information, and to try and make it as informative and useful for you as possible, we've got three sections. The first is a discussion between myself and the CEOs of two housing providers who've begun and made material progress with their digital transformation journeys. The second is a demonstration of smart living solutions, and particularly some of the new features that we've developed recently. And lastly is a Q&A where you will all be able to, through either the web or online or audio, be able to ask whatever questions are on your mind. Hopefully you'll find it genuinely valuable, and we really welcome all feedback during or afterwards. Thank you. Hello everyone, thanks very much for joining us, and we appreciate the time you've given us as part of your busy days. As a result of that, we're going to make sure we make it as interesting and informative as possible. We've got some really good content which we're confident will help you on your digital journeys, and we're looking forward to making this a really productive session for you. Joining me here today for this section are Julia Ashley from CNC and Bruce Moore from Housing 21. And the first question I was going to ask both of you was, with all the changes that are taking place in the telecoms network infrastructure with the transition from analog to digital services, how much of that was a driver for you in terms of your plans to move, as you already have done, into digital provision? Bruce?
So that decision wasn't driven by the 2025 change. It was driven by recognition that the existing systems were really not fit for purpose. They were too old and too antiquated. Housing 21's got 21 in its name. That's about being a 21st century organisation. And the old systems just weren't meeting that requirement, weren't up to standard. So we decided that that wasn't good enough. We wanted to do something different. And we worked with Appello to say, we need to do something different. We need to find an alternative solution. You came up with the goods, and we're now on a digital journey to get all our courts onto the new digital systems by 2025. We've already made a big investment so far and are well on that journey. And it's made a transformational effect in terms of our engagement, and it opens up new possibilities along the way.
And Julie, you've started as well.
Yep. So our journey started 2.5 years ago or so. And we recognised that we needed transformational change in the business. So we developed a new strategy. It was called Fit Future Strategy. And it set out a journey for us right across a number of themes. There's no digital theme to that, because digital sprang out for us across every single theme and every single area of business. So we realised that we brought skills into the board. So we have a digital technology specialist on our board. It really helps us make best decisions around investment in technology. And we set on, just more recently, developing our digital CNC strategy. So ours is completely driven by strategy. And why do we need that? Well, we've got demographic change, which we all know about. Yeah. We've got less young people to work with our ageing population. We've got restricted funding, so we have to do things differently. We're constantly being asked to do more with less. And we see that technology and our digital world is a complementary factor to absolutely everything that we do.
So, Bruce, you said about the current provision of services not being fit for the 21st century. What was it you were particularly drawn to about what digital capabilities enable?
Well, if somebody pulls a string in the analog world, they've got to wait for 90 seconds. That's a long wait to when you've got a crisis or something's concerning you. So 90 seconds to get through. And when you get through, it's a one-on-one, it's a backwards, a stilted conversation. And if someone's pulled the cord or set the alarm off because they've burnt their toast, they have to, instead of having a heart attack in the court, they have to wait for the burnt toast course to be finished. It is really, really rubbish in terms of what it is. Digital's got multi-channel, instant connectivity, and it's also got the video capabilities, and it enhances the whole experience. Flat to flat communication. Somebody's down in the communal area having a coffee with somebody else. Oh, we'd like somebody else to join us. They can call them up, bring them down. Somebody's concerning them at the door, take a picture of them. All those features, and then all the enhancements we can add onto that platform. But even as the basic core takes you to a whole new world that is the modern world rather than the world of the 1950s and 1960s. And I think that's really where we want to be.
And that's right, because that's when absolutely that technology was originally conceived. In terms of helping the colleagues in your businesses and the customers that you support become accustomed and comfortable with the transition to digital, what were the main things you learned, Julia?
Talking, and talking. Involving people right from the get-go, working groups, getting people used to the technology, and I think bringing them into more development work as well. So the great thing about the digital system through Appello is that it's got its functionality, but there's so many other things that can be brought into it as well, which can be useful maybe to some people, not so much to other people. I think just helping people really understand what the full capability is, helping people use it slowly. For instance, for some residents, that's taking a lot longer than other residents.
Yeah.
Our staff are there, they're working with them, they've got real patience, and bit by bit, people are getting there and really enjoying and understanding how to use it. We also have a working group that is working on piloting some more development work, which is fantastic. When people are involved, they buy into it and they see the possibilities of what's available now and what's available in the future as well. And I think the thing to add around the digital platform is that it does offer those future capabilities. So we don't know what we will need in a year's time, perhaps, because the whole digital world is moving so quickly with AI and all these things. And I think the platform we've got can grow, and I think that's great it's really reassuring for our residents. I think the other thing, immediately that we put Appello in, we're addressing the top concern that our residents tell us that they have, which is around safety and security. All our schemes are in London, big communities. Safety and security is everything to them, and suddenly it makes them feel safer and more secure and more connected. So that's got to be a good thing.
Fantastic. And Bruce, in terms
so
of...
I'd echo the safety and security. I think those are the key factors for older people and living in retirement and extra care housing. But actually, for some people, it's the security, it's the security of seeing people at the door and feeling control. And other people, it's that safety of people that if they have an accident or an emergency, there's somebody there to look after. So both concerns are really well addressed with the new functionality. And actually, we had relatively little barriers. There was almost an appetite for it. It is instinctive, it is intuitive, and that's what good technology should be about. And I just echo the comments again that about once you've got it in, it opens up so much more, and there's so much more appetite in terms of how it can be used and that functionality. And it's been embracing. So one of the concerns was that have this, people will be more insular, and actually it's not. It's been much more it's been a tool for being more sociable, and it's opened up connections, made more communication face to face on the back of what's enabled with the digital technology. And then there's an appetite to do more in terms of mirroring, Wi-Fi, using it for other capabilities. It's just opening up that appetite, because before you were in the dark ages, when you've seen some light, you want brighter and more light to come into the world, and that's what's enabled us to do.
Tremendous.
And I think for us, the ability to connect people through their unit directly into our service centre, our service hub, has been fantastic as well. They can do video calling with somebody in our central office and get their queries answered. And I think that personal touch is just so important. That helps people buy into.
Yeah. So you've both got experience, real practical experience of having begun and actually materially, in your case, Bruce particularly, materially progressed the digital journey. What would be your advice to those people who are watching and listening about the lessons they could learn and where they should start and what they should consider? Bruce?
So I think the sooner you start, the sooner you're on the journey and the more progress you'll make. Sometimes what we've did at the early part of our journey is that we've learned and we've progressed and we've moved further on, but that's never a mistake, because you're so far back before, you're in a whole new world, and so to enhance and build on that is a different thing. So it's not really holding back, waiting for the final solution. The world is moving all the time. The sooner you're on it, you're on that journey and you're getting with it. And actually being there, your different organisations will have different priorities and they'll use them in different ways. We'll learn from each other, but actually the sooner you start, the sooner the better. It's not a compliance thing. It's about getting to the open that potential that digital provides to people.
Great, really good advice. Julia?
I think for me, start with strategy. Know why you're wanting to invest in new technology and digital technology. Let the people, the benefits for our residents actually drive decision making. And I think the digital world definitely, as far as we can see, ticks every box in terms of benefit for residents. The second thing I would say is get experienced people in that know what they're talking about. For us, having somebody on the board with a digital technology lead was transformational in terms of board decision making around investment. And I think thirdly, if you've got those two things, you're investing in the right digital technology as well. So what we didn't want to have was the old, if we were just chasing the old analog digital switchover, we might have got a fairly clunky digital solution, which was just analog dressed up in a different way.
Yeah.
But I think by having a more structured approach to it, we've got digital that has infinite capabilities for the future. And as Bruce says, that future is changing all the time. So we do need that platform that can change with the times.
So looking for genuine transformation, genuine customer benefits.
Yeah.
And a platform for growth for the future.
Absolutely, and that's what we felt that Appello actually gave us.
And if I can add to that, I think that digital doesn't replace the human component.
Yeah.
It augments the human interaction.
Yeah.
It enhances that. It's not an alternative. It's an enhancement to the service and the people you mentioned. People are at the heart of, I think, anyone who's a housing and older persons provider, and that digital enhances that rather than replaces it as an alternative.
And I think that's really important, because caring, empathetic people can do more in an environment where the technology gives them insight, helps remove some of the more mundane tasks such as equipment testing, and allows them to focus on those residents who really have need.
It's enhancing. And that's the issue. It digitally enhances the experience that we provide to people, and actually it's not about paper and analog type. But the digital makes everyone's lives easier, which means that there's better time and better engagement with residents, and provides a better service at the end of the day.
Yeah,
Fantastic.
And that's certainly the driver in our strategy. We say, the driver for this is that we want our people to have more quality time with residents.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Thank you very much both. I really appreciate the time.
Hello, my name's Gary Clark. I'm Product Development Manager for Appello. We really hope this session is going to be a valuable use of your time, where we take you through the benefits and features of Appello's Smart Living Solutions digital system. This particular demonstration will take you through what we class as the 4 S's, the safety, the security, the social and the smart aspect of digital smart living solutions. Recently I was asked exactly what is an end-to-end digital system. Well, an end-to-end digital system, Smart Living Solutions, sends a IP digital signal from the resident's room device all the way through the on-site digital infrastructure, all the way through the network to a fully digital monitoring centre. So giving you that small introduction into smart living solutions, we're now going to move on to the demonstration and start with the safety aspect of smart living solutions. Safety was at the forefront of the development of smart living solutions, and one element of that is the connection speed from a resident pressing an alarm button to it being received in a monitoring centre. Around about 3 to 4 seconds connection time as opposed to 60 to 90 seconds on a previous analogue system. The alarm button is just one element of the customer user interface. We have a bespoke suite of user interfaces which have been designed in conjunction with our customers and our resident forums. The other elements of the user interface more commonly are the contacts directory, which is a social call from apartment to apartment, assistance button, which is a social call to the on-site staff, and the I'm OK facility providing independence to a resident. Moving on to the social aspect of smart living solutions, the contact directory, when pressed, opens up the contact directory for the development. This will show each flat, and from here we can easily call another flat in video completely free of charge. The purpose of this feature is to increase social engagement around the development and also to reduce social isolation. Moving on to the security aspect of smart living solutions, security is key on a retirement development, and this comes in the form of a video door entry panel at the front door and any other doors of the development. They can place a video call to the resident's living hub, and the resident can see the person at the door and release the door. A physical demonstration of this and the social calling element of the system can be seen via other videos on the Appello website. Within the development of smart living solutions, we also try to work out how we can make managers on site more effective and empower them to make informed decisions about their residents and about their system. As standard with the installation of smart living solutions, the managers would receive a decked phone for the receiving of alarm calls, a video desk phone for social calls and calls from the front door, and also a tablet to view the Appello HQ software. The video desk phone provides a less obtrusive service from the managers to the residents, as there isn't necessarily a need to physically visit them every single day. Within the development of Appello HQ, we've really tried to learn from where analogue systems have been lacking in the past. So we've provided a really easy to use and really easy to look at dashboard which details alarm and social calls that have been generated on site and off site. We can display pendant integrity and also how many pendants are seen on site, and also device integrity, so if a living hub or a door panel on site has failed, and this will be notified within seconds of the device failing. The final aspect of Appello HQ is the I'm OK facility, which provides added independence to a resident. So during a time window, if they press the I'm OK facility, the manager on site will know that a visit is or is not required that day. We understand that residents and on-site staff have varying support needs, so one of our latest developments is the Appello Knowledge Base, which contains support material including operation manuals, videos and how-to user guides for the system. We're now going to take you through the Smart section, which details some of the more recent developments and integrations with smart living solutions. The first element of that, as we said, we recognise that residents have changing needs, and that comes in the form of changes to the user interface. As you can see there, a very simple user interface for the resident to use. And also a screensaver style dementia clock which tells the resident exactly what time of day it is and the relevant date as well. For those residents with potential mobility issues, then we've developed a mirror application which mirrors the features of the static tablet, which for British standards has to be static and permanently powered. The mirror application is available for tablets and shortly smartphones to allow residents to utilise these features in the comfort of their own chair. Another recent development is the integration of Bluetooth speakers, which tackles a real challenge in the industry and those associated with analogue alarm systems. A range of Bluetooth speakers are compatible and available to connect to the living hub, and this will provide two-way speech anywhere around the home. This challenge in the industry is related to the monitoring centre not being able to hear the resident on old analogue systems, and this will potentially reduce any false emergency services call-outs being able to obtain that two-way speech from the Bluetooth speaker which is connected to the living hub. As a result of customer feedback, we've also developed a conventional activity monitoring system. This activity monitoring system has a slight difference to it in that it can work as a conventional activity monitoring system, but also in conjunction with the I'm OK facility, which again provides that resident with independence. In conjunction with a PIR, the movement sensed in the property automatically changes the I'm OK indicator on the resident's living hub, and this will indicate to the manager that there has been activity in the property that day. Aligning with Housing Authority's digital inclusion strategies, and also to allow residents to get online and pay bills and also report repairs, we've created a Wi-Fi hotspot facility on the living hub. This will allow residents to connect with their own devices to the Wi-Fi hotspot and access those online services, creating a much more connected environment. Households containing adults over the age of 65 have the lowest proportion of internet access availability, which has risen 23% since 2012. And a recent survey carried out in conjunction with the Housing Lin showed 76% of over 70s ranked fast available internet access as the most important feature from a retirement housing facilities. Following customer feedback, we understand that access to a development can be challenging with security issues of losing keys, losing key fobs, and also accessing the development when your hands are full or it's not possible to physically pull the door open. We've introduced facial recognition so that a resident can come up to the door, look into the panel, and it will automatically release the door for them. We really appreciate your time and attention today. All of the features demonstrated are optional additions to the Smart Living Solution system. Now going to hand you back to Tim and Carl for the Q&A session.
Great stuff. Thank you, Gary. I hope everybody found that useful. That was a really quick run through of some of the basic functionality of Smart Living Solutions, as well as some of the functionality which we're developing as options over the course of the months and small number of weeks actually ahead. Before that, you heard Julia and Bruce, who have both taken their organisations on a digital journey. And interestingly enough, the points they made were about this being a strategic decision rather than about a requirement to move just because the telecoms infrastructure was changing. I had a fantastic experience a couple of weeks ago where I was visiting one of the sites where Smart Living Solutions has been installed, and one of the residents said, completely unprompted, that she'd lived on that site for 19 years and Smart Living Solutions being deployed was one of the very best things that had happened in all of that time. That's the sort of stuff that makes us know we're making a real change for the lives of residents. And now we'd like to offer you the opportunity to ask questions. We've already got quite a basket of them that have arrived during the course of the presentations, and we encourage you, keep them coming online. We'll get through as many as we possibly can. And they've got some really good themes to them. So I'm not necessarily doing them in the order that they've come in because there's dozens, but I'll try and group them together wherever we possibly can, and everybody will get their questions answered. So the first one is, does your system cover external peripherals such as a GPS locator? So that's a really good question, because one of the things that we designed, and Carl was the chief architect for this. I should have introduced Carl, actually, our CTO. It's going to be my cohort in answering some of these questions. One of the things that we designed as an inherent capability of Smart Living Solutions was to be an open interface system. So we integrate with, and have already integrated with, things as diverse as an Apple Watch, Fitbit at the health and well-being side, through to genuine medical grade devices such as blood pressure cuffs and epilepsy sensors. One of the things that we've integrated into the system is a watch which has GPS capability, which allows two-way speech back to our monitoring centre if somebody is off-site. So yes, GPS capability as part of the wider Smart Living Solutions ecosystem is absolutely available. On to the next one. Takes us towards a whole new world. Somebody on a bit of a Disney theme at the moment. Sounds good, especially video calling, but what about people being able to access and use health services? So one of the things that we've piloted recently was a trial with both Babylon Health and with another video to GP service. I think there's a little bit more work to do before those are widely developed, but in terms of capability, it's an inherent component of the system, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. Yep.
So no access challenges for us. it's an Android-based room unit. We can load apps such as those ones I've mentioned, other ones that become more popular, and we absolutely intend to continue to augment that ecosystem through sensors, trackers, monitors, through partners. We don't aim to be best in class in any one of those aspects, but through partners taking advantage of the fact that we are open protocol and capable of integrating with any of the best of breed IoT devices. Next question is, what about the ways that older people can be supported directly in lifestyles and behaviour change? So I mean, that's a pretty big, broad-ranging question, and there's a part that Appello can play in that. We are the UK's largest telecare monitoring centre. We support about 200,000 end customers on behalf of our 150 or so housing providers and local authorities. And for those and for the roughly 9,000 or so people who are now living in a smart living solutions environment on one of the 200 or so sites where we've deployed SLS, there is an element of being able to provide a much richer well-being experience. We definitely see that being broadened through cooperation and collaboration with the housing providers, and we're seeing some really progressive housing providers approach us both in the new build and in the existing social housing provision about how they can enrich through the basic functionality that the digital platform Smart Living Solutions provides a really improved experience for those who have particular elderly conditions, whether those might be frailty, through, for example, having particular fall sensors, having activity monitoring, through dementia, through activity tracking, reminders, cognitive assistance. All of those things can be created as part of the wider ecosystem through and as a basis of Smart Living Solutions providing an enhanced living experience. I hope that answers your question, but it is a pretty big question, and one not just for our industry, but one for our society to tackle. Do you provide a digital monitoring service, and do you need a digital monitoring service to monitor Smart Living Solutions? The answer is yes. We do have a digital monitoring capability, the UK's largest by quite some considerable margin. Carl and his team built the CareNet platform to be digitally enabled. How long ago would you say?
7 or 8 years ago, yeah.
And since then we've handled several million digital transactions.
Yep.
So I think we know we've got more experience, more scale than anybody else in that sphere. But it's not essential. We are not the only platform that in the future will be able to handle and receive digital calls from Smart Living Solutions or other devices. And so we do imagine ourselves cooperating with other monitoring centres, and you've already been doing some work on that with a number of providers, haven't you?
Yeah, we've currently got in test with a number of providers to implement Now IP and later on a version Escape. So we're going through that process currently with them.
And those are the two digital standards. Escape is the digital standard for dispersed alarms. Now IP is the digital standard for scheme units. Is that right?
Correct, yeah.
Okay. Is the tablet movable or stuck to the wall? So the Smart Living Hub is hardwired and permanently mounted, and the reason for that is because the British standards require that functionality. The reason Gary in the demo was showing the tablet was because we've then mirrored the functionality onto tablets, and we are in the process of finishing that off for smartphones, probably ready first few months of next year.
Yeah, correct, yeah.
For smartphones as well, so that the same functionality that's available on the room unit is portable both within the apartment but also more broadly than that. Could you do outside contacts? So I'm assuming by outside contacts that means door sensors to trigger whether or not somebody's left the apartment when perhaps they're wandering, signs of dementia or otherwise. Absolutely, we can do that. Is your system compatible with all call handling platforms? So do you want to expand on the point you made earlier about the progress we're making with Vacleason, etc.?
So we've successfully interfaced to the current JonTech platform, and we have systems deployed using that platform. We're in test currently with Vacleason and with Tunstall to deploy the now IP version 1.5 and the version 1.6, which is currently emerging. So we are going through a program with them and hope to see some progress within the next few weeks.
We're really encouraged at the degree to which the platform industry recognises how much safer, better, faster, quicker and more inclusive digital services are, and it's fair to say that most of those platform providers have been really leaning forward, trying to help, haven't they?
Yeah, they
have. Is a system count, and we've done that one. Is there an issue around charging if it is not fixed? There would be. There absolutely would be an issue. That concern about whether a elderly or vulnerable person would have remembered to charge the device. That's why the Smart Living Solutions system is permanently mounted and hard powered in line with the British standards. Can residents have the interface on their TV? So that's an interesting one. It would depend, obviously, whether it was a smart TV or not, wouldn't it? But
If currently, if the TV can support Android, we can do that. We are looking at lean-back technology so that we can interface to older variants of TVs, but it's certainly an area of interest for us.
Okay. The typical cost of a scheme, e.g. for a 60 unit extra care scheme, on average, we think the costs work out at about £1,000 per apartment, depends on the configuration. Some will be more depending on the number of communal doors, the number of communal lounges, etc. So it'll be higher than that or slightly lower than that, depending. Broadly, on average, we find it's about 25% or so more than your typical grey plastic box, which has no functionality at all, other than emergency call. If you are only interested in price, then that will be a factor for you. If it is all about providing a richer, safer life experience for residents, then somewhere between 1,000 and 1,350 or so, depending on the configuration per apartment, is a fairly typical guide price. What feedback has been received from those with limited computer knowledge, given the demographic with our residents in developments? So this has been a brilliant point for us. A lot of the feedback was, when we first started conceiving this, was about, well, will residents really engage with technology? That's the same as asking, will a resident engage with a television? Televisions are really smart. Smart Living Solutions is smart, but it's the user interface that makes all the difference. As Gary demonstrated, the user interfaces can range from a single red button through to a variety of different icons. But bear in mind, all the resident has to do is press one or two icons, one in an emergency, one in a social contact scenario, two if they're looking to do apartment to apartment calling. It's a very, very simple user interface. So it's not about engaging with technology, it's about making sure from our point of view, we've provided a simple to use interface. And the average age of our residents is 86. So it is the same demographic that most of you will be looking after that constitute the core of our customer base. Do you address issues of data protection with features such as capturing images and photo recognition? So, for example, the facial recognition, the capability which Gary demoed earlier on, that's a capability that is available as an option, and as he described, it's all about creating that additional level of ease and convenience for the resident. It's not about technology for technology's sake. It's very much about ensuring that they have a simple and easier to use functional way of entering and exiting the business without the building, without the concerns about have I remembered or forgotten my fob. In terms of how you take data protection concerns into account, then a resident will sign for, as part of their rental agreement, that they would, or their accommodation license, that they are happy for their picture to be used for the purposes of entry and exit. Is Appello signed up to the Tech UK Interoperability Charter?
Not at this point.
It's a new one to us. It would be quite mad if we were not in any way compatible with that, given that we've got more interconnected devices than any other digital provider out there. So if whoever raised that question could ping us details of the Tech UK Interoperability Charter, we'd love to have a look at it, and I'm absolutely certain that we'll be happy to work on that framework. Are Wi-Fi services free, and who manages them is the next question. So Wi-Fi capability is enabled by a version of the room unit. So there's a premium for the room unit to have the Wi-Fi hotspot capability. The bandwidth would be paid for and operated by the housing provider. So they would choose what level of service provision they wanted, what experience they wanted their residents to have, and we'd help them choose an appropriate amount of bandwidth. We always advocate a second and separate circuit for internet traffic versus the alarm traffic for obvious reasons, but do you want to just say a little bit more about that?
So we protect the alarm traffic as a class of service to the ARC by having a very specific outbound channel. We put all our Wi-Fi traffic through another channel, and then it doesn't compromise any of the alarm capability when talking to the monitoring centre.
That's right. And in terms of the charging model, that's entirely between the housing provider and their residents. Some are looking at a free model, some are looking to charge it as part of the service charge. There is a small charge that we levy on a per apartment basis for the landing page and the authentication, but that's a very small component compared to the savings that a housing provider can offer their residents by moving away from potentially their own broadband provision, if they have any at all, onto a Wi-Fi hotspot variant. Could Smart Living Solutions interface with Japanese-type companion robots?
Wow. I guess so. It's a open Android interface, so I'd be interested in giving that one a go. So
yes, we haven't seen those widely deployed as yet in the UK, and we certainly haven't had any of our customers or prospects ask us for that functionality. If whoever raised the question has got a real user case, we'd be very happy to look at it. As Carl says, one of the beauties of being an Android-based operating system is it's intercompatible with so many other devices worldwide that it will be a surprise if we couldn't do something that was useful. Do new features services automatically get added in the future? So there is an ongoing upgrade program, which means that software stays current and that all of the security and so on accreditations are kept in place, and that's part of the ongoing maintenance package for Smart Living Solutions. Certain functionality, such as, for example, the dementia clock, which we retrospectively introduced on behalf of a suggestion by one of our customers, other functionality we make available on a case-by-case basis. Certain functionality, where it is a material change, then there will be an option for customers to purchase that as an upgrade. So, as an example, moving from the voice activated to moving from a non-voice activated to an activated, voice activated room unit in the future is something that we may charge a small premium for to cover the costs of development. Have residents seen a hike in their service charges? Well, in general, and you'd have to ask housing providers this, but in general, certainly from those we've worked with, they've operated very much within the existing service charge infrastructure, because largely speaking, and obviously this is going to be different potentially on a case-by-case basis, but a modern digital system potentially has a lot lower servicing charges than a analog system which is multiple years old and starting to fail. So on the whole, our expectation is that while there will be an increased cost to purchase the system, that the life benefits over the period of time help to offset that. An example of that is what was mentioned by, I think, both Julia and Bruce. Certainly one or the other of them spoke about the improvements in efficiency and effectiveness of their on-site staff as a result of smart living solutions. So the fact that their staff were able to be more effective and spend more time on really productive tasks means that in overall terms, there are aspects of the service charge which potentially are some gives and takes. Those are, at the moment, are all the questions we've had. I say all, I didn't keep a tally there, but I think there were about 20 or so, which is a really good level of response. We're delighted to have had so many people take the time to show interest, both in terms of the questions they've asked, but also the dozens and dozens, hundreds of people who've registered and made the time and attention today. As a follow-up to this, there's a few things available to you. Firstly, we'll be posting this as a link off our website over the course of the next 3 or 4 working days. It will be available for distribution more widely within your organisations if there were people who you would have liked to have seen it but weren't able to make it. Secondly, on our website there is also a lot of collateral, both short tutorials about how smart living solutions can be used, as well as downloadable resources which show and provide examples of the case studies of 1 or 2 of our customers and the difference it's made for them. The third thing that's available as a follow-up for you is by getting in touch, we will happily arrange for a dedicated session, either at your offices via bringing out our demo kit, or alternatively at our showcase here in Lymington or New Milton, where you can see firsthand the fuller, richer range of experiences that we weren't able to squeeze into such a short slot today. So hopefully that's been a great use of your time. We'd love your feedback. We plan to run these on a fairly frequent basis during the course of 2020. So if there are particular topics you want us to cover, then please let us know. Alternatively, you'd like one organised specifically for your organisation, that might be possible as well. So with no more questions in the queue, I'd like to thank you very much again for your time and attendance and wish you a great rest of your day. Cheers.
Thank you.